Oh, I'd been accepted in November. I'd been accepted and gone all through all of the physical examinations and mental examinations, etc., and been accepted. And on December 7th, I remember it was noon in a place where I lived, and I had the radio on, and it announced that it was what was happening. I couldn't believe it. People were out in the streets even yelling, war, you know. People were crying. It was kind of a very sad situation. But after the recovery of that particular instance, I had to take my finals, the quarterly finals, the week of December 1st, December 8th through 15th, I guess it was. So I went in and talked to my professors about that I was going to be called, and should I go ahead and take my final exams. And they said, well, they'll leave that up to you. And I said, well, as far as I'm concerned, I'll just take incompletes, and then I'm going to come back and see what happens. So I did, and I went home that Wednesday, which is about 10th, I guess, and there was a telegram came for me to report to Portland, and with ticket, with a voucher to getting on the train in Coos Bay and going up and getting on the train to Randolph Field in where is that? I can't remember where Randolph is. It's in Texas.
How did you feel when you actually saw the telegram? I mean,
couldn't wait. I get going. I wanted to learn to fly, and I was very happy about that. And I joined with other Air Force recruits in Portland, and we had a car of our own, sleeping car, and we ate it in the. We had a time to eat in the dining car. So we, four of us, sat together and got to be pretty good friends all the way through. But when we got to Randolph Field, they separated us, and by weight, height, etc., and moved us into different cadres, and we stayed there for about 3 weeks, getting issued all of our uniforms and overcoats and shoes and everything, and which was part of our cadet uniform. We didn't have an officer's uniform. We just had the cadet uniform, and they ushered us into the cadet club in San Antonio. So we got a pass to that, and so we were not able to fly. We were just learning the rudiments of military life, you know. When you get up, you go eat, you do exercising, you do this, you do that, and everything is getting you into physical shape. And that's where we were there for about 3 weeks. And then I was transferred to primary training at Yukon, Oklahoma, which is about 20 miles out of Oklahoma City. And it's a very small one, and with a strictly transition place for where you're learning to fly, and at the same time you're under military discipline, and you're getting hazed a lot, and so you become, after the first 6 weeks, the second 6 weeks, you become the hazer. So that I had about 5 new cadets came in as replacements, you know, and or not replacements, but as new cadets, and I had 5 of them in my cadre that were, you know, we ate together, we learned things together, and we flew together, and so I was kind of their, like the other fellows of my particular category, we were more like counselors to these, you know, they get homesick, they do these things happening. So we were put into a cadre of more like big brothers, and so we helped these kids get along.
When did you learn that you were going to start flying multi-engine planes? I mean, do you know when you go in? Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, well, there's three. You have to go through 3 training sessions. Your first is a primary. I went to Yukon. And then the second was basic. I went to Enid, Oklahoma, where you're flying a much bigger plane than these little PTs. And, you're just learning the rudiments. So you get in a much bigger plane and heavier plane and much more powerful plane. Things you do, a lot of things which you couldn't possibly do with a primary trainer. And we knew when we did night flying, so we could be able to land at night, fly at night. And ground courses were a lot of navigational and also map reading, things like that, all kinds of stuff like that. And we had to take Morse code. We had to pass all those things. And then we graduated from basic in Enid, and I went to twin engine school, which was down in Lubbock, Texas. And in Lubbock, Texas, they had what they called a twin engine AT-9. That was your primary trainer was for twin engine. Now you didn't know whether you're going to be in a B-25 or a B-26 or what you might be in, but they broke us into upon our graduation. We had no idea where we were going, and on July 11th in 42. I got a letter, like all of us did, that told us what we were going to do, and I was going to report to Boise, Idaho on the 4th of August for multi-engine training, and that was the B-17. And we were one of the first classes to get into that 17, because prior to that I had run into a major in Oklahoma City just on leave, and we were talking. I told him where I was, and he says, well, I've always tried and I never have succeeded. I want to get into the B-17s. And he says, I really think that's the finest airplane. So when I got the B-17, I thought, oh yeah, that's great. And they checked us out individually with a flight instructor, and they gauged our competency at flying, at handling emergencies, and at being a leader. So I was selected to be a captain and had a crew of a co-pilot and navigator and bombardier, all officers, and then I had 7 other men that were all tech sergeants that were from gunner, ball turret gunner, radio operator, tail gunner, and my technician, which is flight right behind me. Mm-hmm. And he was a very nice young man that had a lot of experience.
So your 10-man crew that was put together in Idaho?
No, it was put together in Kansas. We went from Idaho to Kansas.
Okay.
And in Kansas they put the crew together. But I had the Graham and I, who was my co-pilot, he and I were together all the time in there. But when we got ready to be transferred to Kansas City for transitional training, that's where we picked up the crew. Then we went to Alamogordo, New Mexico for desert training. Mm-hmm. We slept in sand and all that kind of stuff, but we had good food. I remember that. But we did night flying, and then you get up there in formation, and all at once these big searchlights would come on, and I'm telling you, I had to get down below the fuselage. I could not see. I don't know how anybody else did see, because nobody ran into one another. I don't know how it come. We were all over the sky.
Yeah.
And so they'd splice those on, and we'd have to fly in them and keep our formation together. And after a while, it became a little easier, but the first few times it was real bad. I kept saying, we're going to run into somebody. I can't see them.
Right.